Dr. Christine Woods, our Associate Vice Provost for Research in Health Sciences and Faculty Development, to come and introduce our keynote speakers. Dr. Woods.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is just a pleasure to be here, and I am just so impressed with the programs and the core units that I've seen this morning, and I just can't underestimate is not a good word. That's one that I've heard on the news lately. But I can't stress the importance of RCMI support in terms of helping us to strengthen our research infrastructure. This is as critical as the CTSA. And I just want to say that we're extremely proud of Dr. Sutherland and all the work that's been done here today. Distinct honor of introducing Dr. Sheila McClure this morning. Dr. McClure received her BS degree in biology from Savannah State University and her PhD in cellular and developmental zoology from the University of California, Berkeley. Before she came to the NIH, she was a faculty member in the biology department at Spelman College in Atlanta. There, she was the director of the RCMI, or Research Institutions Program, and she really helped Spelman to develop their biomedical research infrastructure, which included pilot funding for the researchers there, core laboratory facility development, technical assistance, and also development of grants and contract services, which is something I talked to a lot of you about yesterday, what we're doing here at Howard. In 2001, she began her federal career at NIH as a health scientist administrator in the Division of Research Infrastructure at NCRR. And that's when I had the opportunity to make her acquaintance. And it was a very pleasurable experience. I was at Meharry Medical College at the time, and I applied for an R25 grant to develop a Master's of Science in Clinical Investigation program. And she and Dr. McNary were just wonderful. Working with them through the process was an amazing experience. And I can't believe it's been 9 years. 9 years ago. But since that time, she has gone on to assume the position of Director of RCMI programs. And in that role, she has a broad range of experience that she brings to it, but she oversees a portfolio of grants, including the RCMI centers, the RCMI infrastructure for clinical and translation, and the RCMI infrastructure for clinical and translational research. She's consistently received performance recognition awards from the NIH, and she was nominated for the NIH Leadership Class of 2006 and completed senior leadership training at George Washington University and here in DC. She's been featured in a special issue called Women at NIH in 2007, and in 2009 she received the NIH Directors Award and NIH Merit Award. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. McClure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And it certainly is a pleasure to be here at Howard University. And I'll have to tell you a story. When I finished my postdoc and I was looking for a job, Howard was very high on my list. And the only thing that kept me from coming here at the time was the snow. I'd never lived in any place where there was snow. And, you know, people told me, oh, it just snows all the time there. You really don't want to go there. You really don't want to go there. But anyway, that's the only reason why I'm not sitting where you're sitting because of the snow. I'd like to thank Dr. Woods for that introduction, and I'm very happy to see her here. I'm glad you guys snagged her away from wherever you snagged her away from, and I'm sure that she is just going to be really, really a jewel here in terms of helping you to develop your research. I want to thank Dr. Sutherland for inviting me out this sunny day and asking me to speak just before lunch. So I hope you'll all stay awake. And he didn't tell me I was a keynote speaker. This is tough. I feel totally like a fish out of water because keynote speaking definitely is not my style. I'm much more of a hands-on type of person. But it is really a pleasure seeing all of you here today. I'm extremely impressed that you're taking time out of your busy schedule to come to this workshop. And the one thing that I hope that you are all putting in the back of your mind is that these core resources are for you, okay? I know you're hearing a lot about some of the exciting projects that are ongoing in some of the labs, but how many of you are sitting here with a pretty firm idea of what it is you want to do and how you're going to use those labs? You can just, by show of hands, pretty much know what you're going to do. Okay, how many of you are like me going, well, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but you know, if I really am here for the information, raise your hand. And then several people are somewhere in between. Because, as I said, these core facilities are for you. And really, they will help you to facilitate the conduct of your projects, but they're also there for brainstorming. Okay. These investigators that are there and the technical support that's there can help to mentor you. Dr. Sutherland can be a mentor and hopefully is a mentor for you if you're not quite sure where it is you want that project to go. So don't think in terms of, well, I don't really have a defined project, so I'm not sure. But use it as a consultation as well as helping you to get your projects going. Well, in order for me to come here today, my center, the center where I work, requires me to do what I call a commercial, because I'm sure all of you are familiar with the National Institutes of Health. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know a lot about the National Center for Research Resources, which is where I work. How many of you won't offend me, how many of you have heard of NCRR? Okay, I'm impressed, because most places I go, they go, NC who? They're not quite sure what it is we do, okay? But we are the National Center for Research Resources, or NCRR. And we're not a categorical disease-specific institute or center. That means that we're not heart, lung, and blood, we're not the Cancer Institute, we're not allergy and infectious diseases. But what we do is to provide research resources for investigators, for institutions, irregardless of the types of research project that they're engaged in. So we span the gamut. Okay? We also provide resources for conducting basic research, preclinical research, clinical research, and translational research. Okay? So we span the gamut. So we're really interested. Our mission, and you know, everybody has to have a mission. Our mission at NIH is to provide researchers with environments and tools that they need to understand, detect, treat, and prevent a wide range of diseases. This is accomplished through 4 major divisions at NCRR. The Division of Research Infrastructure, which is my home division, the Division of Biomedical Technology, and as the name implies, this is a division where that focuses on technology development for use in the detection, treatment, and prevention of diseases. There is a Division of Comparative Medicine, and in comparative medicine, they work on developing animal models for use in research, whether they're mouse models or zebrafish models or primate centers, you name it, animal models for research. And last but certainly not least, the Division of Clinical Research. And the Division of Clinical Research has the Science Education Partnership Award, and last but certainly not least, the CTSAs, or the Clinical and Translational Science Awards, of which Howard University is among the most recent recipients. So while we are home of the RCMI program at NCRR, we're also home of the CTSA program. Within the Division of Research Infrastructure, we focus on what we call capacity building. And there are two major programs that do that. The first being the Institutional Development Award Program, or IDEA program. And this is a program that is specifically designed for institutions that are located in 23 states and Puerto Rico. And these are states that have not had a lot of success in getting support from the NIH. Unfortunately, the District of Columbia is not included in that group because you have several major research powerhouses here in the District of Columbia, including Howard University. In addition to the IDEA program, we have the Research Centers in Minority Institutions program, my program, the RCMI program. And as you know, the goal of the RCMI program is to provide infrastructure such as the core laboratories that you're hearing all about today, equipment, pilot project funding, funding for minor alterations and renovation, faculty development and recruitment activities, all the way to outpatient clinical research centers, all in support of biomedical research. Now, this particular program was established by Congress in 1985, so you see that it has had a long and very illustrious history. Okay? And there are several people in the audience, Dr. George Dunstan, one of them, who was very, very instrumental in the RCMI program being here at Howard University. So we want to give Dr. Dunstan certainly her props. And is still a very active researcher in the Human Genome Center here at Howard. Now, in addition to developing institutional infrastructure, one of the things that the RCMI program has at its heart is to develop the capacity for collaborations, to enhance any existing collaborations that you have. And when we talk about existing collaborations, we're talking about collaborations among investigators here at Howard, as well as any collaborations you have with investigators outside of Howard University. To increase your access to resources, because sometimes you may need an instrument or you may need a core that is a huge core. It's too expensive for one institution to be able to maintain. But another major, a more research-intensive institution may have that core. And what we want to do is to provide you with appropriate access to those types of cores or those types of facilities, and access to other resources, as well as access to information and to training. And we hope to do this, again, through collaborations between the various RCMI programs, the IDEA program, the CTSA program, because now that you are among the CTSA institutions, that will open you up to a whole set of tools and resources that you have not had access to before, to collaborate with other programs across NCRR. In addition, to enhance your ability to interface with other NIH-supported research centers and networks. Whether they be supported by NHLBI or the National Institute on Minority Health, Health Disparities, NCI or NIEID or whatever. And to facilitate your connections with researchers across this country and internationally. Now, this map shows where the 18 current RCMI centers are located. And I say current because this list changes, because sometimes we get new centers and sometimes centers go away. And I will say that I think since 1985, Howard University has been one of those centers that has received continuous funding from the RCMI program, which is no small feat. Dr. Sutherland will tell you that the process is an extremely competitive process. It is not a giveaway. It is a very competitive process. So you should feel very proud of the fact that you have received continuous funding and you have a very active and a very productive RCMI program. So you see where the centers are located. In 10 states, the District of Columbia, and in Puerto Rico. In addition to centers, as I indicated, where the focus is on basic research or preclinical research, we also have clinical research centers, outpatient clinical research centers, at least 5. One at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, John A. Burns School of Medicine, one at Charles Drew, one at Meharry, one at the Morehouse School of Medicine, and one at the University of Puerto Rico Medical Sciences campus. So all of this is your RCMI universe. I show you this map to show you your universe. All of this is your universe. So if you're talking about doing research in the area of HIV/AIDS, or cancer, or cardiovascular disease, or neurological disorders, or alcohol abuse and alcoholism, okay, this is your network of institutions. It's a diversity of populations, it's a diversity of people. It's also a potential pool of mentors. Because sometimes when you're developing a project, you might find that, well, there might be investigators here that have similar interests, but nobody's really doing the research that I'm interested in. And I'd like to be able to collaborate or have a mentor, an experienced investigator that's doing research in that area. So you have this as your pool of collaborators and mentors, in addition to everyone else out there. What these 18 sites have done is establish the RCMI Translational Research Network, or RTERN, that Dr. Sutherland mentioned a little earlier. Now, this network was established in mid-2007, and it is a cooperative and collaborative network for preclinical, clinical, and translational research focused on health disparities. Okay? It can be focused on health disparities in general, or it can be focused on any of the diseases that disproportionately impact minority and other medically underserved populations. So given the statistics, we know that that can be almost any disease-specific area. Okay? And again, the goal is to enhance collaborations. Because as we all know, when you compete for funding, whether it be funding from the NIH or from any other sources, you are competing with research machines that have, a list of collaborators, a list of investigators, across multiple disciplines, across multiple schools. And while we have that capability here at Howard, it is further enhanced by the fact that you are a part of this network. And being a part of this network means that you have access to the resources of the network. Again, the strategic goals of this network to facilitate multi-site interdisciplinary research, especially research focused on health disparities, to develop the processes that will increase the efficiency by which you're able to conduct the research, and to provide you with web-based access to research opportunities, training opportunities, educational opportunities. Now, how is all of this work of the network facilitated? It's facilitated through the RTERN Data and Technology Coordinating Center. And that Data and Technology Coordinating Center that links all of the 18 institutions and their collaborators is at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. And this data center, as we call it, provides a number of different types of resources. It provides biostatistical support. It can provide support for protocol development. And it hosts training opportunities, seminars, workshops. It helps with regulatory support. It helps with projects that are kind of at that preclinical stage, but you're not quite sure how to get it to the next level. it helps with all of those types of things, in addition to trial design. And in order to develop this network, there is a pilot project that is the first project that is being tested through this translational research network. And it's a project that is looking at the effect of vitamin D on cardiovascular risk factors. And the two pilot sites right now are the Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta and Charles Drew in Los Angeles. And this is a fully powered, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. And it has some sub-studies that they're going to look at too. And it has important public health implications, because I know all of you are reading about vitamin D and the fact that we're sick has to do a lot with the fact that we don't have enough vitamin D. And they are using this pilot study to work out some of the logistics of facilitating multi-site research to the network. Some of the things that they've done as a result of having this pilot project is they've developed business associate agreements. Okay? Because if you're going to be collaborators, you want to be sure that everybody in that collaboration gets the credit that they're due. Okay? And in order to make sure that that happens as it relates to publication, as it relates to intellectual property, you have to work out business agreements. So through this pilot study, they have worked out business agreements between the sites to ensure that everyone at both institutions will be happy with the outcome of the collaboration. The data center coordinates investigator meeting sites. They come to the actual sites where the studies are being conducted to be sure that there is a manual of operations that's developed around the study, so that you're sure that both sites are conducting the study in the same manner and have the appropriate oversight for the study. Again, that's going to be important for a multi-site study. In this particular study, they're enrolling participants in the study, and so the data center helps to facilitate participant enrollment. They started enrollment in the study in July, and they will complete their enrollment very, very soon. They have been actually congratulated on the speed with which they've been able to enroll participants in the study at both the sites. They have built the database for collecting the data remotely. The data center did that. And developed all of the data entry forms and did the training for each of the sites to make sure that all of the data is being collected and entered into the database appropriately. They have now established reusable data elements, templates, and tools for getting studies off the ground very quickly, so that every time you're doing the study, you're not having to reinvent the wheel. But we already have established templates that you can use and with slight modifications. And the outcome is that through this pilot project, they have really set the foundation to decrease the duration time between getting your protocol together and really getting your study off the ground and running. Dr. Sutherland also talked about the research clusters that are associated with each of with the Arthur network. And these are just some of the examples of the research clusters. If you are not active in a research cluster, we would encourage you to become active, because this is an opportunity for you to talk about your research, talk about your research interests, to find additional collaborators, to find mentors as appropriate, and to go after some funding opportunity announcements as a group of investigators, as opposed to being kind of that sole investigator that's sitting out there. So if you're not active in a research cluster, we do encourage you to become active. And you may come up with ideas for new clusters, okay? Or ways in which you could have what we call cross-cluster collaborations, because usually when you're dealing with a disease such as HIV, as an example. You're not just dealing with HIV oftentimes, you're looking at other comorbidities as well. So again, having expertise across these research areas is important. And the aims of the clusters are to generate innovative, multidisciplinary research activities, to facilitate the movement of your science advances across the translational spectrum, to increase your training opportunities, mentorship opportunities, collaborative opportunities. But the emphasis really is in linking the basic sciences and clinical medicine so that ultimately we can increase the efficiency with which we're improving patient outcomes. Dr. Sutherland mentioned this morning that you have been extremely successful in the RTERN Small Grants Program. These are opportunities, again, to pilot a study. If you have an idea, you need some preliminary data for a particular study, and we expect that these opportunities will continue to be available to investigators through the RCMI Translational Research Network. But what you're going to find is we're going to start looking at whether or not individuals are active in the various research clusters, because the network really is your network, and the network will only be as good as you make it. So we really do encourage you to participate, because there will be these types of opportunities and other opportunities for you. Again, NCRR is very, very excited about Howard University being a part of the CTSA program. And if you don't know about the activities that are part of your CTSA, I would encourage you to find out, well, what exactly is our role? What are we doing as a part of this CTSA? Because again, being a part of this consortium, there are only going to be about 60 institutions across this country that will be CTSA institutions. And right now, Howard University bears the distinction of being the only RCMI institution that is a primary on a CTSA award. We do have other institutions that are involved in the CTSA, but their involvement is through a collaboration, not as a full-fledged, having a full-fledged PI as a part of that CTSA. So I'm hoping that Howard is milking this for all that it's worth, okay? And that you will utilize this as an opportunity to avail yourselves of the many opportunities that will come to institutions because they are a part of the CTSA consortium. And when I talk about opportunities, yes, I'm talking about funding opportunities that will be available to you being a part of this consortium. So you are uniquely suited. You kind of have the best of both worlds. You have the RCMI Translational Research Network at your disposal. You have the CTSA consortium at your disposal. So I expect wonderful, wonderful things to be coming out. I hope that many of you are planning to come to the RCMI International Symposium that's going to be held December 6th through 9th in Nashville, Tennessee. Right now we have over 500 people that have registered for the meeting. I think there are over 400 abstracts that will be presented in the form of oral presentations and poster presentations. Again, there will be meetings of the research clusters, again, to try to generate collaborations and to develop proposals for pilot funding and for submission to various funding agencies. There are all kinds of technical and career development workshops. There is a grantsmanship workshop. Actually, there will be 2 grantsmanship workshops at the meeting. One that will focus on young investigators, and by that I don't mean age, because I consider myself young, but rather you are either young to a project, you're starting a project for the very first time, or you are changing directions You may be an experienced investigator that's decided, I want to go into a new direction. So that particular grantsmanship workshop would be just for you. There will be another grantsmanship workshop that is for the more experienced investigator who is looking at all of the new policies for submitting grants to the NIH. Now, because NIH is funding this, we are going to focus on, applying for NIH funding because that's what we want you to do. As you may know, there have been a lot of changes, and Dr. Sutherland mentioned having to have a PubMed Central ID, and this is not just for the RCMI. This is any research that has received any support from any entity that's funded by the NIH, period. That any publications must cite those grants, and it must have the PubMed Central ID number. So you really, really want to be sure that you understand that policy, because this goes for grant applications. They will be checking for a PubMed Central ID in your grant application. And if you don't have those, they're going to throw your grant out. Okay? They're not going to review it. So this is really important. So that workshop will talk about those types of policies, as well as shorter page limits, R01s, and particularly the new type of R01, which is the collaborative R01. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you something very interesting about the direction that NIH is going in. Why does she keep talking about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration? Because the way of the future is the collaborative R01. Research is getting more and more and more and more and more and more complex. It's requiring diverse disciplines. It's requiring diverse interests. And we know that the only way you are going to be successful, we're going to be successful, is through collaboration. So collaboration is key. I want to certainly bring you greetings from my director, Dr. Sidney McNary, who wishes that he could be here, but we're just right across the way in Bethesda. My deputy director, Dr. Michael Sayre, and as I indicated, I direct the RCMI program. You are very close, so I'm hoping that your closeness to the NIH will take advantage of that by coming to not only visit our center to find out more about what it is we do, but also visiting the other NIH institutes and centers at the NIH. I see people from everywhere. I don't see people from Howard as much as I'd like. With this, I will close, and I thank you for your attention and look forward to the afternoon workshops and visiting the core labs.
Any questions for Dr.
Question about the PubMed Central ID. I've heard repeatedly that if you publish, it has to have that, but I don't know how to get that or do that. Does it happen automatically if it's PubMed it happens?
Well, so it depends, because there are some publications that you submit your papers to, they automatically will submit it for you. And you'll get like a manuscript submission ID number, and then you get your PMC ID number. Not all journals will submit it for you. So Ms. Keisha, I think, is developing a policy for making sure that those journals that do not submit it for you, that you know how to submit it.
Now, if you publish and then right before it comes out, you see EPUB before print and PubMed, does that mean it has happened? If your paper's in
No,
PubMed,
because there's a PubMed ID and then there's a PubMed submission ID number. They're two different numbers. The PMID number is different from the PMC ID number. What we can do is we can make available to you a link, and the policy was actually published in the NIH guide, and there's specific directions, and we can make sure that everybody in the center gets those directions. And it's really important because it's not just, as I indicated, it's not just for RCMI, it's for any NIH-funded research. So if you've got a grant from Heart, Lung, and Blood, or whatever, it applies. It applies relative to your progress reports. it applies to grants that you're submitting for funding. And
So if you have a project in mind that you're applying for some grants or grant funding and you haven't published it yet, you wouldn't have a PubMed ID of
right. This is just for published work.
what
Miss Keisha Riddick should be congratulated. She's held several workshops on this topic of PubMed listing, of papers coming out of funded research. I think you had how many workshops you had?
Up to so far on this.
We've had several workshops on that, and I have to congratulate her. She did a very good job.
Is it too late to sign up for the conference in December?
It is not too late.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that you'll get into the host hotel, but they have another hotel that's taking the overflow right now. But it's not too late.
I've been to one, it was about 7 years ago, and it's just really exceptional to see all the posters and as well as the workshops, so I want to come.
And this actually marks the 25th anniversary of the RCMI program. So we think this is going to be a very, very special meeting. So I would encourage you, if at all possible, to participate. And it's in Nashville, which is not too far away. I think the one in 2012 is going to be in Puerto Rico, just to give you something to look forward to. Not that Nashville isn't great. But there are two critical things really that will help Dr. Sutherland, help this program, and help you. One is when you publish to cite, even if the consult is 5 seconds, to cite the grant. Because as he indicated, if we don't see, he can turn in 5,000 publications. If we don't see that grant number, it doesn't count. We say, well, Howard isn't doing anything. You know, they obviously don't need these cores, and they don't need these. The other is with the PMCID, which is a law now that for all NIH-supported research, and sometimes you forget when you're dealing with infrastructure that, okay, I'm not getting any funding from them directly, so I don't need to cite it, or I don't need, the PubMed Central ID. That is absolutely not true. That's not how infrastructure works. If you go to Keisha's office and you get a pencil, if you go to her office and you get, assistance with travel, or assistance with, or you attend a seminar, a workshop, or something that's helping you in terms of navigating the research that you're doing, then that is support. And so when you are able to publish, or you're successful in getting a grant or in applying for a grant, you need to cite the RCMI program and the grant. And again, when you're publishing, there are two things now. It used to be one, just citing the grant number. Now it's citing the grant number and making sure that you have your PMCID number. Because the university will be audited, I am not joking, if those numbers are not there.
Dr. McClure, thank you for your talk. How far back does a PCID number?
Actually, 2008.
2008. So I think before 2008,
You're okay.
we're okay.
Given the importance of that, Dr. Woods, I was wondering, should we even make these workshops mandatory?
I think that would be a great idea. I think everybody needs to know about that.
Everybody
Yes.
across the institution.
Absolutely.
What if work has already been published and there's no PCMI?
You can still submit it. You can submit it. Now the law is that you really want it, when you're submitting the application.
But the grants bundle is cited that this work was supported by that, and if there's no PCMI number.
When did you publish it?
2008.
Okay, that's probably okay. Anything,
So how do I get my
anything prior to
PMCID?
2008, you wouldn't be expected to have a PMCID.
Well, what about 2008 itself?
I think you do.
So everything after 2008?
After 2000, anything in 2009, 10, forward, yes.
Can you go back and get it for something you didn't get it for originally?
Can you submit?
Yeah, you can, but you need to do it like today. If it's something that was omitted, you need to do it today. Because really, if you write a grant and you put that publication, in that grant, and it doesn't have that number, they're gonna flag it.
Can I say one thing? I was previously funded by the RCMI program, and that program really helped my laboratory get on its feet. So I feel very comfortable, acknowledging RCMI support, even though I no longer have direct support. When I do that, do I need to include the grant number itself?
It's helpful. Yes. It makes it easier for us to find it, because if you just say, sometimes that isn't picked up.
Okay.
And believe you me, it's how we report to Congress why our programs are important and how well they're working. That our investigators are being successful. And you brought up something else that's important that I want to mention, and that too is providing us with scientific highlights. Because we can really help you to publicize what it is you're doing. The only request we have is that when you send us a highlight to write it in lay language. I typically used to write my scientific highlights so that my daughter could understand them when she was in high school. So, and really that's what you want to do. And you really want to make sure that you're stressing the biomedical significance of it. Because I have to remind people you are the NIH, National Institutes of Health. So you want to be sure. And I'm a basic scientist, so I know I feel you. I get really excited when I'm talking about a possible protein, but I've also got to remember why it's important. What the health relevance of my research is. So. Two things when you're writing that summary: lay language, please, and secondly, making sure that you are stating what actually we now refer to is the public health relevance of it. Public health relevance. And one of the things that we're going to do at the RCMI meeting is to have a workshop with all of the program managers and program coordinators and with the PIs and PDs. And we have actually developed a format for your science advances to help you to communicate better to us about your science so that we can then communicate it to our bosses. Any more questions? Thank you so much, and I'm very close, so I'm looking forward to hopefully getting another invitation, Dr. Stokes.
And have Dr. Sutherland come forward for wrap-up comments.
Okay. I really do want to thank everyone for coming, and I want to especially right now thank Dr. McClure for coming out and giving this interesting talk. And I also want to especially thank Dr. McClure for really being a mentor to me as a new PD when I became an agent. We're going to let me out a few years ago. She really helped me a lot, actually, in guiding me through some situations that were concerns. And I also learned she's much easier to talk to in a group than one-on-one. Her one-on-one conversations can be real interesting, but they're always helpful. So I really appreciate it. You've been a good friend to Howard University and our program. I really appreciate it. And I also want to say that as PD, I've had the benefit of having an excellent PI, Dr. Robert Taylor. He really understands what we're doing here, and he understands, and he gives us a lot of support. he's given me the flexibility to really see how good of a PD I can be. And I really appreciate that, Bob. Thanks a lot. And this day here is a lot went into this day. And some individuals worked very hard on that. That's Kisha Riddick in the back. Getting lunch ready. And also Gillian Garney helped us with a lot of the technical aspects. We appreciate Kisha, Stacy, and Dee helping us kind of pull this together. So do that for us. And we really appreciate the Social VP for Health Sciences Research and Faculty Development for coming over and spending some time with us. And also introducing a keynote speaker. and also I want to also thank Paulette Harris. She's the chair of our internal biology committee, and for giving us our leadership this morning and make sure we're on time. I don't know how we made up that much time. We really got started late. We made it up somehow. So I want to thank and you, the participants. This day was really for you, as we said earlier. I want to get you to come and see our labs and see how we can work together and be productive. So we can really publish our papers online. Publish papers. If we don't publish papers, it'll be a hard time to get grants. And also, I want to say also that Kisha's already done 2 workshops on the public, on the PMC. And we've already planned to repeat this, open up your periodically. So we'll be doing some more. So if the health sciences want to do this, then I think Kisha has a roadmap that we can talk to. So lunch is right now. It's in room 211 in the Mud Building. We're going to walk across the street and have lunch. I think it's a good lunch. I'm not sure what the menu is, but we have a reputation for good lunch.
Are the core facility directors going to be at the luncheon to give us a follow?
Yeah.
We follow that.